Well, driving in Johannesburg has become somewhat of an extreme sport. From potholes to traffic lights not working, it's far from a smooth ride, even if you're in a luxury vehicle. And that's not even mentioning the current situation with driver's license renewals. You'd be forgiven for wanting to swap out your petrol budget for an Uber instead. So let's unpack all things roads related to Gauteng Transport MEC Jacob Mamabolo. MEC, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So we're following this big hole on Long Street in Albertsville very closely. We actually sent a camera there on Wednesday night when you promised it will be filled. It still hasn't happened. Why?
Well, when your team brought the matter to our attention, we then said, and of course, good afternoon, good evening to you and to all the viewers. We then said we will contact the city of Johannesburg, the department of responsible for that hole, and that is Water, Joburg, and the Joburg Road Agency, and we did exactly that. Our team was on the ground with all the equipment and material required to fill the hole. And when the city of Joburg came and said they are taking over and they will fix it, and we saw them on site, we were satisfied that we can hand over to them. But we had made it very clear to them that if we see that they're not even starting, they're ignoring the site, our team was there to fix it. But I'm very much happy that the city of Joburg has taken responsibility for the matter. They came to the site, and as the MMC was just saying now, they've started working on the issue. So that for us, it's very good, and we should give them enough chance to fix to make sure that they fix the roads and the motorists can move on without any problem.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you can't really control how a pothole emerges in our roads because it's due to a number of factors. But this particular hole was dug up because of water works that needed to be conducted. And it was left open for a long time. I know you said it was a couple of days, but we have staff here who have said that they've seen it for months. Why is this sloppy work allowed in the city of Johannesburg?
Well, firstly, let me just say to the viewers, it is not acceptable that anyone dig a trench or a hole, especially next to the road where motorists are exposed, leave it for a long time without taking care of it. That is just a matter of principle, and that's how everybody who works on the road knows. And that's why we found it very strange that the city of Joburg could dig such a big hole and left it unattended for a long time. I spoke to the councillor, and the councillor indicated that she has been frustrated by her own city with that issue. And when the eNCA team brought it to our attention, we said, whilst this is a municipal sphere of government, we cannot leave motorists exposed to such danger. And that's why at 7 o'clock in the morning we were there. But I have had a meeting with the MMC responsible for transport in the city of Joburg and Joburg, City Roads Agency. And they have also engaged their colleagues in the water department. And we have agreed that this matter, they will have to take it up as the city to get to the bottom of who exactly was negligent to leave a hole like that wide open. And as a provincial government, we have left the matter with the city of Joburg, and as a sphere of government, we are quite confident that they should be able to deal with their employees who have actually left this matter in the manner that they did and putting lives of people at risk. So to that extent, the intergovernmental relations requires that we allow the city of Joburg to deal with the matter as the employer of the people who were responsible for that, or the people that they will have given a contract as a company to do the water, to sort out the water problem for them. But in general, it's a standard, well-known practice that you don't dig trenches or holes on the road and leave them exposed, in which case you put lives of people to a risk. But we have no reason at this point to doubt that the city of Joburg will get to the bottom of this matter, because you can imagine anything could have happened to the motorists.
Yeah.
And we wish the motorists a speedy recovery, but we also think that it will be good that the city come out public on what action they've taken on the matter. And we will also consistently follow up to check how the city, in its own right as a sphere of government, deals with this matter. And of course, we are interested in exactly how they're dealing with the matter. We will be following up with them.
All right, let's talk about the driving license centers. There was protests, of course, a week ago. Many of them were shut down. We saw some of them reopen towards the end of this week. You were in meetings with those concerned about this new online booking system. Can you first tell me whether all licensing centers are currently open?
Well, let me say to you that we have met with the DLTCs on Monday. I also met with them again on Wednesday, and I'm in touch with them yesterday, today. We're meeting again on Monday, in which case we have drafted an agreement, and the driving schools have requested to consult their members on the content of the agreement and whether they can sign it or not. The Road Traffic Management Corporation, which is the national custodian of the eNCA system, was brought into the discussions because they are the ones responsible for the running of the eNCA system. So we asked them to be part of the discussions, essentially trying to make sure that we could facilitate a discussion between driving schools in the province and RTMC as the owner and custodian of eNCAs. There is a draft agreement on the table. We will be meeting again on Monday at 12 o'clock to look at whether both the RTMC, the driving schools and ourselves can sign the agreement. From where I stand, and this was the report I gave them today, all the sticky issues that were affecting the signing of the agreement were resolved. There was one matter outstanding today. We have dealt with it in the afternoon, and I conveyed that to them. So from where I'm standing, we expecting the driving schools, the RTMC, and of course myself as the MEC to sign an agreement which should open a new chapter in the driving school environment.
Yeah.
When we met with them on Monday, one of the issues we indicated was we need the DLTCs in the province to open. And that was a very difficult matter because the violence that we saw in the DLTCs, whilst they denied it, they issued a statement distancing themselves. We had to get an interdict stopping the violence. So to that extent, I'm very much pleased that on Tuesday, we had almost 90% of the DLTCs open, and there were still some DLTCs that were not functioning, including when I checked some of them today. I don't have the exact figure because they continue to shift. Some they close, some they are open for this and that reason. Remember, some of them are run by municipalities. But I can tell you the DLTCs that are not functioning, out of a total of about of about 36, I'm quite sure that those that are not working will not be more than 3. If I were to go to my last count, when we checked, there was a DLTC in Amanskraal that continued to be closed, and the one in Mabopane, where it was also affected by violence. But in the overall, and there was one in Sandton that was closed also for other reasons. So there are some of them have had their own challenges. So in general, the DLTCs are functioning. And I must thank the parties that we have managed to open the TLTCs. Okay. And on Monday, if we sign the agreement, it will really pave the way for all of them to be open. And that's when we will do a proper audit of who has still not closed with a better environment that we've created.
Got you. Let's talk about the driver's licensing backlog. There were 534,000 cards that were waiting to be printed nationally. We know that the deadline for this to be renewed, your driver's license to be renewed and get your card, is the 31st of March. What's the backlog looking like in Gauteng? And do you think we're actually going to manage to get all of those cards printed in this province by the 31st of March? Do you think there should be an extension to this?
Do I think just the last part?
Do you think there should be an extension when it comes to the driver's license?
Oh, yes. Okay. I hear you now. Okay. The minister, Honorable Fikile Mbalula, when he visited Acacia Driving License Testing Center, he said very loud and clear, and I hope I am not misquoting him, but he was saying that there's not going to be any extension of the period that was announced to allow driving license holders to renew and, of course, to make sure that their driver licenses are in order. So to that extent, we are a province. Minister set the policy environment. You will remember that it was the minister who announced for the whole country the periods and the extensions.
The difference here is that some of our licensing centers have been shut down for a week. And Gauteng obviously has been impacted.
Yes, I was coming to that. Maybe let me go direct to your question. My own view is twofold. One is that I am bound by the position of the minister. The second one is we have in this province introduced what we call request a slot, in which we have created digital platforms for people to be able to request a slot, because there was a huge overcry that people couldn't find slots. And I can tell you, compared to the complaints I used to receive, since the introduction of the request a slot, that has gone very well. We had few exceptional cases where people will say, I can't get a slot, and then we had created a very good and powerful back office to support them. Mm-hmm. So on that basis, we are also seeing that the total number of the people who are not responding to the renewal of a driver license slots that they've requested, it's also very high. So my own view is that we must also be very careful not to perpetuate, the people not respecting the licensing authority. And to that extent, the disruption that happened with the e-notice on the 18th of February to the 1st of March, that period of the disruption where people could not access the system, I would argue very strongly that it shouldn't suggest that we must extend, because we have really provided all the platforms for people to renew their driver license. I'm also aware that there was a difficulty at National with the machine that they use to print the cards. Yeah. And as far as we understand it as provinces, is that matter has also been attended to. So from where I sit in the province, nobody can argue successfully that they couldn't find a slot, because we created multiple digital platforms for them to receive a slot.